This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
Well, although I wasn't able to enjoy the City Council meeting live last night, I have a bit of a commitment to try to report on the happenings of the meeting. So after the Leafs game, I fired up the recording and started from scratch. Right, head to toe.
Night.
Checked in what was a pretty important meeting last night. In the announcements section last night, City Manager John Cullen talked about an upcoming event you can participate in. It's called Thunder Bay Talks at West Thunder Community Center from 6 to 8 on the 13th with a barbecue and conversation. No formal agenda, but a good chance for you to meet the team and talk about city issues with administration and more. I think I'm going to go. We should go for a hot dog.
I like that idea. I really do.
It's a great idea just to have a casual conversation with those in the know and to find out more. Nice. Also last night, City Manager presented his City Manager's Work Plan. He committed to presenting to Council twice a year with his long list of work for his team and outlined a huge volume of major projects that they're working on. Administration is exceptionally busy. And then he broke down the progress for each. There is a lot of work, and it's a great way to show council and the public how busy this team is and the progress with specific timelines for each. It was a great update from the city manager. Next up on the agenda, the Marina, Prince Arthur's Landing, and boater services, a topic near and dear to me, as you know, and at the same time, a great model for how to spend money, make money, and get money at no cost to the taxpayer. That's right, boater services, the dock services available to 260 boaters at the marina is 100% paid for by user fees. The charges to boaters pay for infrastructure and services with no expense to you on your taxes, but to the boaters. Over the next number of years, boaters will pay up to 4% more for their fees and will get a brand new fuel system. And fun fact, this new fuel system is needed and has been needed for years. It's a lot of work, including new underground tanks and new pumps on the fuel dock. When this process all started, it was over $300,000. Here we are years later. The cost now close to $1 million. But before we complain about that, it's a debenture that is completely funded by the boaters and not by taxpayers. That garnered little discussion. It was passed last night. The construction of the updated infrastructure will be coming soon. Go ahead.
That sounds like a huge undertaking. Is that going to affect services over the course of the next few years?
We hope not, but it is a major upgrade, and again, at no cost to the taxpayer.
All right.
That wrapped up the city council portion of the meeting last night. I know, shocking. It was done around 8:30, but then on to the final discussion about the location of the temporary village. That was pulled out of the minutes last week, and more discussion was had before the final decision on its location at Cam River Park. And away we went, one councillor at a time, again rehashing their position for or against, and starting the conversation what felt like all over again, including going to administration for questions that seemed like they were asked before. Over the weekend, I was asked about my position on the topic, and it's one of those things where my thoughts on it are as someone from the outside, someone of privilege who can't really relate to the struggles of many in encampments and the homeless. Day after day, more and more people fall in difficult times for a variety of reasons. And because your council voted on and carried a human rights approach to caring for those in need, that's what I want to see happen, and I want to see them follow through and succeed with this. Like it or not, agree with it or not, this is the will of your council. They voted for it, and because of that, I will support it. Hope for the best and watch to see what happens next. It's certainly not over yet. Now, in talking to a business owner over the weekend who is very close to this new location of the temporary village, they're already struggling with countless break-ins, vandalism, and more, and now could be looking at huge expenses for further securing their space. Their concern is that the project won't work and that it will cause more aggravation for them. It's valid. It's a fair estimate, although administration brought forward studies to show that this does help in some small ways at the end of the day. And it is the will of the council that the temporary village is part of a bigger 10-point plan to try to address these social issues. This is a major piece of it. So on and on we went with the discussion. One by one, councillors against the project with the loudest voices for over 2.5 hours. At one point, it was pointed out that CPKC's rail yard, which is right next door, they have concerns. They sent a letter to City Council with their concern of the encampment being too close to a major rail yard and the requirements of being 300 meters away. They have concern for public safety. That prompted Councillor Mark Bentz to suggest a closed session to discuss the legal portions of this. And off they went, off camera for more than an hour to discuss all of this. They returned with the city manager explaining that the full safety study needed to be completed and that CKPC's concern pertained to new residential development, of which this is not. If there is a safety assessment completed and they can't meet the needs of CPKC or other safety risks, they'll return to council. But they have not completed it yet, so the process is just part of the next steps in this challenge.
So, does construction begin on this or not?
As of right now, yes.
Okay.
Now, listen, I don't want to split hairs here, but there was a portion of the discussion last night that got my attention that I feel I need to address. It came from City Councillor Trevor Gertuga, who once again, with an angry tone, proclaimed his disagreement with this project, and it was mostly about the cost. So let's break it down. The cost of the project is about $5.5 million. $2.8 million of that is funded by the government. The city will kick in $1.5 million per year to operate the temporary village. But once again, we heard the cost per person from Councillor Gertuga last night, spread over 5 years. He pointed out that it's going to cost $12.5 million to help those in need over the next 5 years, a point he kept making over and over again. That's his position. But to me, it's a little strange, and of course, there's always a receipt. And I apologize in advance for this comparison, but it has to be made. This is the same councillor who got angry at the suggestion of the total cost of a certain indoor turf facility. You know, the one that was $17 million, then $25 to $30 million, then $35 to $38 million, and now over $40 million. But he would get very angry in these discussions when people pointed out the total cost of borrowing the money to build the turf facility, which added $9 million to the project. So my question is this: why can we stretch out the cost of the temporary village to show how much it's going to cost over 5 years and keep pounding the point that it's $12.5 million and not 5.5? Yet when we're talking about the turf facility, we can't highlight the same facts and the fact that the total cost of that facility would be well over $52 million. It's a complete double standard. There's always a receipt. There's plenty of tape to show it. Consistency, though, here is the key. You can't talk about the total cost of one project and not the other. So finally, after months of back and forth and a ton of work, with a ton of work still to come, including a safety study and more, the temporary village location at Cam River Park went to the vote. 5 councillors were against the project. Gertuga, Cicino, Bentz, Aiello, and Agarwal all said no. The other 8 were in full support. The Cam River Park temporary village was carried last night in a vote of 8-5. The meeting wrapped up just before 11 p.m.
So that means with this approval and ratification, they will get this required funding from the government, the province,
right,
and that is a go.
Now the hard work begins because now we have to do an RFP for a company to operate the facility, for security, for all of those pieces. Mm-hmm. The budget is $1.5 million a year to do that. The budget to build it is $5.5 million. There is a lot of work to do. And as it was pointed out last night multiple times during the 2.5-hour discussion, the city manager explained if at any time we go over budget or need to go over budget with any of this, it will be at the will of council. He will bring that back to council to approve every nickel that goes outside of what they've already agreed to. So there was discussion last night about, there's one in Hamilton that was $5 million over. Well, that's not going to happen. The city manager is committed that every time there's more expenses or they find things through this process, if there's more that's required, they will bring it back to council.
But the question is, what if that does happen? Where does that come from, that money?
Well, then that's where council gets, that's what they get paid to make decisions on.
Okay.
Whether or not they want to spend that money or not. But there is a very strong mandate of $5.5 million. That's the total cost. $1.5 million to operate it. But keep in mind, with this passing last night, We're now in the running for that $2.8 million from the government to help subsidize that capital cost.
Time frame on this, July was thrown out to start or something?
To start getting ready, but construction in the fall.
In the fall to be ready by the end of the year, really?
Well, that's the plan. But keep in mind, though, this temporary village is part of a much bigger 10-part plan that includes designated encampment areas that would be enforced in the city and all kinds of other steps. This is just a part of it all, but all of it is going to start getting into play, and this is an enormous amount of work.
I was just about to say this is a huge undertaking, but well, there you have it. After all these weeks and months of back and forth, officially ratified last night, Cam River Heritage Park.
I want to just stress this one more time because I've said it each and every time. This project is highly controversial, is very polarizing. There are people on both sides. But I want to remind everybody that your city council voted together on a human rights approach to encampments and taking care of those in need. They agreed to it from the very beginning. That's where this village came from. That's where the 10-part plan came from, because of that initial human rights approach that they approved. So now it's on them to deliver.
I've already noticed some chatter on social media this morning about it, and it's not very pleasant to see.
No, and not everybody's going to be happy. This is one of those things that's going to be very tough. But all you can do is hope for the best, hope for the best for those people that are using it, and hope for the best in the success of the project, especially after the enormous amount of work that was put into it.
And what is that saying that says about taking care of each other?
There you go.
Something like that.
You got to do it at some point.
City Council Roundup. You'll find it on our website, 999thebay.ca in just a bit. And as always, you can really easily text the word council to our T-Bay Tel Talk and text line, 807-344-8229. You'll get a link there. Click it, and you'll be good to go. John, thank you.
It's going to be a while before the next one.
If we can set that up, right?
A couple of weeks off and a long weekend in there. So we'll maybe
fair.
see you again before the end of the month.
All right. Sounds good.